As above, so below. One of the most ancient laws of the universe, as above, so below. And what does that mean for those of us on a spiritual path? And something that's been on my mind over the past month, especially, is that spirituality is not a singular path. It is not just meant to be for the self. It is to start for the self. It's an inward journey seeking the divine within. But it's a dual path, and it's not meant to be selfish. It's an inward journey towards self discovery, towards divinity, but then it must be an outward expression of service, love, and support for the collective. Something that I've been noticing in our society, at least as it's represented by some people, is that spirituality has become people talking about their gifts. And it's become something to sell and something that sets you apart and makes you special. But spirituality, in its essence, is actually just the opposite of that. It is to go internal and find your divinity. And in that internal journey, you realize that your divinity is in the oneness. And so, in the oneness, your responsibility then becomes bringing your divinity, your highest expression of yourself, to the collective community. So it starts with self realization and inner healing. It often begins by an inner exploration, as it did for me. Speaking for myself, it began with a path of trauma and self destruction to break down my ego, to break down barriers and boundaries inside of myself, where I could understand my wounds and I could realize that from the pit of the bottom of the dark tunnel, there was a connection for me to find healing, to find my higher self. And so from this place of internalization, we find our awakening and we find our enlightenment through prayer, through reflection. We awaken to that divinity that I just spoke of inside of ourselves. And in that, we align to our true power, to our true purpose, which is to recognize and align with our soul's love and expand that outward. Because as above, so below. If our truth is that we are all oneness, well, then so below, what are we meant to do with our truth? Are we able to step out of our ego? Are we able to step out of our mind and our human conditioning to bring that love into the world? With inner connection and inner stillness, the more we connect to our inner divinity, we can receive peace internally. We can receive self-love internally. We can receive unity and a sense of togetherness with other things. That if you're just living in the human experience, that's not natural. What we seek in just a human experience is comfort, having our needs met, power often. And so what we see is when people stay in just their ego or stay in just their human experience of their mind, they start making choices just for themselves. It's playing out across the world right now. I can easily speak to it playing out in the country that I live in, the United States. So many people operating from a place of ego and no spirit at all. And I have been feeling this so strongly, and I finally realized I need to speak to it. Because the true way of the spiritual warrior, the true way of deep internal love is you do not struggle to find power because you recognize the oneness and you want to support the beauty of oneness. It literally makes me cry when I look out into the world and so many people forgot who we are, where we come from, what our true nature is. And yet it's still possible to go inside, to find self-love. And when you love yourself enough, people, you will not struggle for power because you want everyone to feel that love. So the outward journey supporting the collective. Spirituality is truly a spiral. It is gifted to us in nature. It is told to us through our DNA that we are a spiral. It is shown in the cosmos and in the formation of galaxies. We are a spiral. In hurricanes and seashells, we are a spiral. In the way that the baby is in the womb, wrapped up in a spiral, growing from within, expanding without, just like the purpose of our spirit. So, true spirituality is not just about personal enlightenment. You guys, don't keep all that wisdom bottled up inside of you for personal gain. Apply it and bring it out into the world and make the world better by your love and compassion and wisdom. When we heal ourselves, we raise our vibration. And when we are able to raise our vibration, what does that mean? What does raise our vibration mean? It means escaping the confines of human conditioning that keeps us locked into the human egoic brain and sense of self. Raising our vibration is raising our energy higher and higher to understand that the more love we are, the more together we are, the more one we are. So then you live as an example. You embody that wisdom and integrity. And by embodying it and bringing it out into your practice, you are sharing it. So, sacred activism. What is sacred activism? How can you be a spiritual warrior? Well, many traditions teach that enlightenment is not just about transcending the world, but engaging with the world, not just escaping the world in meditation, but bringing the cultivated wisdom of your meditation into the earth and helping others in need. Now, that can be in so many different ways, but I have been hearing a lot of people say things like, oh, I only focus on my family and my neighbors in this world because that's how they did it in the old ways. And in the old ways, the world was very separate. But over the past 100 years, we count on each other. We rely on each other to support each other through hardship. I am more than happy to donate to orphans in Africa every single month, even though they're far away from me, because I care about them and I'm going to keep doing that. And that is the oneness of my spirituality coming out into action into the world to make it a better place. You can focus just on your community, and that is beautiful. Focus anywhere that your heart calls. But sacred activism is engaging with the world, with the truths that you have inside of yourself. Like a spiral, the inward and outward journey continuously feeds each other. We must go internal to expand external. As we grow spiritually, we naturally extend love and wisdom outward, and we serve the collective as we deepen our own spiritual evolution. And as we serve, we grow. It goes both ways, folks. The concept of spirituality is both an inward journey to divinity and an outward expression of service is really important to remember. So I wanted to give my little spiel on that, but I want to talk about how there are so many teachers, so many people who have embodied wisdom and who have created amazing examples for us to follow. I think of the Vietnamese Buddhist monk who found deep inner peace through mindfulness and meditation and brought it to the world in a practical and accessible way. And at the same time was a fierce advocate for peace during the Vietnam War. And I always pronounce his name wrong because I'm dyslexic, but Thich Nhat Hanh. I know I said that wrong, so you can laugh at me, but do you ever have like ways that you say things in your head and then you hear that other people say them differently? Well, that's me. But his teachings brought compassion and peace and presence to individuals by teaching us how to meditate and how to be internal. right? But then he brought that peace in his life and brought it out into the world. And it was a huge protester for peace during the Vietnam War and taught us so much about living our truth. I think of Mother Teresa. She was compassion in action. She experienced so much deep peace and love and messages in her prayers, in her meditations, in her callings to serve Jesus and work with the Blessed Mother. And she did her compassion in action by serving the poorest of the poor, the most forgotten people in Calcutta, India. She founded the Missionaries of Charity, and she cared for sick and dying, diseased, and destitute people in action. Her spirituality was rooted in service. I think of Nelson Mandela, his inner strength in jail for 27 years. And he emerged unshakably committed to unity and reconciliation. Where did that come from? That came from internal peace. It came from 27 years sitting in a jail and not turning rotten inside. If anything, he became more loving and more compassionate. His resilience led to the end of apartheid and the healing of a divided South Africa. He embodied forgiveness and patience and believed in change and brought that into the world. One of my favorite poets ever is Rumi. He was a Sufi mystic from so long ago, and his profound poetry explores love and the mysticism on this planet and the profound journey of divine connection. But his inner spiritual devotion is something that affects every one of us today. His words remind us that the spiritual path is about love, surrender, and unity. And his beauty and the way that he saw the world and his writings and his poetry and his tenderness are things that affect our hearts and our spirits today, reminding us that we are so beautiful. I think of Maya Angelou. She's a poet and an activist and a voice for the soul. She had some of the most personal, deep, traumatic struggles a young woman could ever experience. And she took those experiences and transformed them into profound wisdom as she went on a deep spiritual and healing journey. And she reminded us that people will never forget what you said. Sorry, people will forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And she brought that energy into how she showed up in every conversation, in every action, and standing as a woman of color and a woman during segregation, and showed us the strength and resilience and the power of words and coming together. And then, of course, I have to talk about Dr. Martin Luther King, spirit-led activism. His activism is rooted deep in the Christian faith and believed that love is the most powerful force there is. He was an undeniable believer in nonviolent resistance in fighting civil rights, inspired by the teachings of Jesus and Gandhi, another great example. And his work continues to inspire movements for justice today. Each one of these individuals went first inward through suffering, bringing them to meditation, deep, deep contemplation, and then into a knowing, into a unity with Source, with God, with oneness, with us. Maybe you can call it a spiritual awakening. Maybe you can call it remembering. Maybe you can call it finding Jesus, hallelujah. Maybe you can call it aligning with the great goddess. I don't care what you call it. But what they did was they turned that inner wisdom outward to heal, inspire, and uplift humanity. And that is what I am saying each one of us on this journey needs to do. Let's stop hoarding the beautiful gifts of our souls and the wisdoms and the teachings that are coming into our hearts on this path. And let's start bringing that into the world to make it better. We are spirits of love and togetherness and unity. And the only way the world is going to get better is when we stop living through the power struggles of our mind. We have to unite our hearts with our humanity and carry that out into the world. And we have to give a flying fuck about each other. So let's start. And sorry for the swear word. Thank you for listening.